Hi, I am Kimberly Garner with School of Holistic Design and just wanted to do a last minute reel because I was feeling inspired in the moment. So what I want to share is some perspectives on design. And so when I think of design, I don't think of, what our home is supposed to look like compared to a magazine or a Pinterest board or a catalog, right? Like for me, design has more of an ecological approach. It's more of a human ecology approach that meets human spirit and human soul. And so my spin on design is a means of intentionally adapting our space so that it supports us, so it encourages more of what we want. And I don't want this to sound like type A, but so it accelerates what we want. And so it helps us move toward what we want with greater ease. And so for me, it's really important that our home do that. So another element that what I want to add into this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you're not familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Abraham Maslow studied exemplary human beings and the series that they followed to become self-actualized or to reach self-transcendence. And so at the base level is physiological needs. So air, water, so there's basic physiological needs. And actually, I believe sex is on that first one. It might be on the second one. It's definitely on the third. So I think it actually is, right? Because if we don't procreate, we as human beings will be extinct. So I think I'll have to look on that. And sorry, I don't have the answer right now, but I'm pretty sure it was the first, but it could have been the second. Anyway, I digress. So the second one is shelter and security. And so this is shelter and security for ourselves, but also our family and loved ones. And so if our physical security and safety, and this can be financial, right? It doesn't have to be just our physical security and safety. It could also be our financial security and safety. If that is at risk, threatened, or uncertain, we'll experience survival mode. So these first three rungs have to do with survival mode. The next one is love and belonging. Okay, so what does this have to do with design? Okay, and then so at the very top, there's the self-esteem needs, and then self-expression and transcendence. And so what I'm hoping people do is recognize that there's a relationship between the design of our space and where we are in these different rungs of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure our home is properly addressing our physiological needs. I think carbon monoxide alarm, right? Like if our home isn't breathing, we are going to die, right? So we need to make sure that our home is breathable and not a chamber where we're locked in, right? So that's that physiological need for air. Plumbing. We have a physiological need for water, right? We don't necessarily have to get it from within our home. We can get it from outside and bring it in, but still we need our home to be able to cover these basic physiological needs. Next is our safety and security. So how do we feel in our home? Do we feel secure? Do we feel safe? So that's the next thing. Are your doorknobs working properly? Do your windows open? Is it easy to come and go? Okay. So even when we are not consciously aware, our subconscious, which is in charge of our physical and emotional survival, is monitoring these things 24/7. Within a split second, our brain knows if there's smoke, if there's a problem. So you don't have to consciously think about this. The subconscious mind has all of the five senses out, making sure that our physical and emotional safety is taken care of. Okay, so that's the second rung of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The next one is love and belonging. So how do you feel in your home? Does your home conjure a sense of love and belonging? That is really important. So if any of these three areas, if your home doesn't support these different needs, you're going to be experiencing some level of survival mode. So these are just really basic things that often get overlooked. But this is part of that relationship of our home ecology, our design ecology, and how we're feeling. And a lot of times we're not even consciously aware of how we're feeling, but our body is experiencing it. So every cell in our body is experiencing this. And so when you walk into your home and if you feel lonely, if you don't have a lot of interaction with other people in your life, and your home makes you feel really good, that's amazing. If you walk into your door and you have a 5-bedroom house and all of them are empty, and you have a huge dining room with 12 chairs and all of them are empty and you're the only one there, your home is echoing, right? Our home is like an echo chamber. Your home is echoing more of that feeling. So we just want to be aware that there's a relationship between how we adapt our space to support what we want and how we want to feel, and the internal experience that we're having on a cellular level, on a psychological level, on a neurological level, on a physiological level, and on an energetic level. And why is all this important? It's because our home is an opportunity for us to bring everything we want into alignment with how our ecology is impacting us on these different levels. Because how we feel, so let me back up. Our physical environment, our 5 senses, we take in our environment through our 5 senses. That information is being translated within our subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is like a data bank of experience that started from our, not early childhood, probably from actually, I don't know exactly what this is, but I would guess very close to when we started coming into consciousness. And I don't know if that's, anyway, I digress. But basically, our subconscious mind is a data bank. And so everything that we experience from, I'm going to say giving birth, or not giving birth, being born, from being born, our first 7 years, okay, that's like the general lingo. The first 7 years, everything that happens is stored in a data bank, which is our subconscious mind. And the role of that is to keep us physically safe and emotionally safe. So when we see something in our physical environment, we take it in through our 5 senses, and then it goes to the data bank of memory of the subconscious mind, and that's translated into a thought. So you smell smoke, you see smoke, and immediately the subconscious mind thinks danger, right? And that turns into our thought, and then we have a conscious awareness of, okay, I need to check this out. There's a problem. And so this is kind of the cycle. We have our 5 senses. This is how we interpret meaning from our external environment. The subconscious mind references these algorithms in the mind. If I see smoke, then there might be danger, right? If I see, a fancy car, then that means that person is rich. All these internal algorithms. And so that affects our thoughts, which even if we're not consciously aware of it, is going to affect how we feel. And so we want to make sure that the environment of our home is taking care of those basic primary needs. Think Maslow's hierarchy, right? And then here's the good thing. So first, just like a good doctor, we want to make sure that our house is doing no harm, right? And then once we make sure our house is doing no harm, we've gotten rid of the toxic clutter, which is anything that brings up a negative feeling, emotion, or memory. We want to get that out of our house. And then we start working up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So then we start using our space, yes, it's taking care of our primary needs, but now let's get curious about our self-expression. Now let's get curious about what it is we want, right? Because we want our home to express what we love about ourselves, what we love about our life, but also our desire. What is it that gets us excited to wake up in the morning? And then how we put that out in the world. So we're still like working up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So how do I want to express this in the world? Because our home, especially the entry, our home holds the space between our outer life and our inner world. And it also holds the space between like our personal life, but also what's going on within us, right? This is that interior architecture and interior landscape of who we are, which has nothing to do with our identity. It has to do with more of our spirit and our soul and what makes us unique, right? It's that me without a name. And so we want our space to speak to that part of us. And what happens is so we have like 4 areas of our life broadly. We have our physical experience, we have our mental experience, we have our emotional experience, and then we have our energetic or spiritual experience. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we align each of those areas. But here's the great thing. When you align one area of your life and you bring it into alignment with what you want, like what your values are, what your intentions are, then what you're going to notice is other areas of your life naturally move into an alignment. So if you're in a ho-hum relationship, but then you start taking better care of your, let's say, spiritual side, and you start meditating more and you start spending more time alone in nature, and all of a sudden that relationship feels really good, you're going to realize the relationships in your life that are not serving you, that aren't doing any good. And so it's sort of like the more comfortable we become in one area, and when I say comfortable, I don't necessarily mean complacent, but the more we feel like comfortable in our own skin and we feel like, yeah, this is aligned with my true self, then the other things that aren't aligned become much more uncomfortable. And so if you want to make a change in any area of your life, or if like you do the wheel and you're like, oh man, like I'm really off for my self-care, if you bring your awareness to that area and you start taking really good care of yourself, you're naturally going to find out where you're out of alignment, and that is going to naturally clean itself up without you having to do anything. And so this is why I really like bringing attention back to our home, because if you look at the physical area, the mental area, the emotional area, and the spiritual area, the easiest place to clean everything up is in our own home, right? Because we don't have to like figure out what's going on within our subconscious mind and wrestle all those dragons and demons, which that's going to happen anyway. But when we look at our home, because our home is telling us something. Like we can take a tour of each of our homes, and without communicating a word, our home is telling us a story about our life and what's going on up here. And so that's why it's a great place to clean up certain areas of our life. And it's not going to do all the work for us, but it's definitely going to be a catalyst for making things change. And so if you want to make a change in your love life, if you want to make a change in how you put yourself out in the world, if you want to make a change in your abundance, which can be similar to finance, but it can be different. Like there are areas in your home that are giving you clues as to where to focus. And so, anyway, you can tell I'm really excited about this. If you have any questions, like I'm happy to answer questions if you want more. So, and this isn't a plug, but I'm just going to tell you, I do have a 6-week course. It's self-guided. You can do it in 12 weeks or whatever. But it takes you room by room through your home, and it shows you the internal landscape that's related to that room. And so if there are areas where you feel stuck or you've been in like a not comfortable cycle, it will show you like where that's showing up in your house and how to clean that up. And it's called the Reset. And I have it priced at different levels. But here's the thing with all of my work, if anyone's interested in it, I don't want price to keep you from going after it. And so I have scholarships for all of it. So, and always reach out if you have any questions. What else do I want to share? So my main intention in jumping on this live was just that relationship between design and rethinking design. Like, design isn't like just for the upper echelons of society. Like, I really want us to change the way we think of design as being more of this engagement with our ecology, right? The physical environment of our ecology, our home, and how we can adapt that space so that it better supports us on fundamental functional levels, but also what we want. And when we talk about like those 4 different areas, like the physical area, the mental area, the emotional, the body, right? Like what we feel in our body, the emotional area, and then the energetic. The physical it's our external environment, like our nature outside of our home. And then, thank you for that sweet comment. So it's where we are out in the world, the environment of our home. It's also our relationships and how we take care of our body. And so, like I said, we can move any of these areas into alignment with what we want, and naturally the other areas are going to move into alignment. And so, because it can be really overwhelming to be like, this isn't going well in my life and my brain is a mess and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, pick one thing. Like, pick the one thing that's the most exciting, right? Like, what's the most thing that would be really fun to do and it would give you the most satisfaction in like reaching that place? Is it to be stronger physically? Is it to have more endurance? Is it to be creative every day? Like, whatever it is, just do that one thing. And another thing I'll say is that if we pick one day a week where we align, like, not all, but as many as possible choices with our desired outcome, right? So like, let me give you an example. So let's say every Monday we live the life of, like, you know, this word is so overused, but like future self or ideal self or best self. Like, we get up early in the morning and who knows what this is like everybody's going to be different, but we get up in the morning and say we meditate and then do yoga and then do some journaling and then, you know, work for 4 hours and then take a break and have a meal with a friend. Like, whatever that looks like, whatever like your ideal life looks like, or whatever you want, just do that one day a week. Because what happens is if we do that one day a week, we're changing our baseline. That baseline is going to be moved up. And so now we've got a little bit of semblance of normal. Once a week, our normal all of a sudden looks like our ideal life. And so if it's that one day, each week when we do that, our baseline is changing. Our expectations are changing. There's so many things that I could talk about right now, because I want to go into a segue about imagination, and maybe I'll go into a segue about imagination and then I'll stop. And if anyone has any questions. So I mentioned expectations. So there is a lot, thank you, Jody. There is a lot that we can do with just addressing our mind. Okay. So if you think back, it's actually a circle, with the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the energetic experience. Like, that's what it's like being human, right? So if you go to the mental area and you change just one thing, and this is broad, but it has everything to do with your imagination. Your assumptions, part of your imagination. Your imagination is obviously part of your imagination. Your expectations are a part of your imagination. Your doubt is a part of your imagination. Your assumptions are a part of your imagination. Your worry is a part of your imagination. So typically as children, we use our imagination for amazing, wondrous things, right? Like, we have friends, we have experiences, we go on adventures, all within our mind. But at some point, after, let's say, high school, all of a sudden, our imagination gets used towards our own demise. We imagine everything we don't want to happen. We have our doubts, we have our worries, we expect bad things, we assume bad things, we anticipate bad things. And what's happening is that energetic level, that's what we're creating. And this is scientific. It's not woo-woo, okay? You see something, you experience something with your 5 senses in your environment. You have a mental thought, okay? It starts out subconscious, maybe it gets to the conscious level, maybe it bypasses that and goes straight to feelings, but then you have a physical experience. When you have a thought, every cell in your body at the same time is experiencing that thought as if it's in real time. So if you have a thought about when, your neighbor moved away and you miss them, every cell in your body is experiencing missing them. If you have a thought about being fired from a job, every cell in your body is experiencing that in real time, whether it happened 10 years ago or yesterday, or you're afraid it's going to happen next week. So we're having a cellular physiological experience when we think a thought, okay? So your whole body is along for the ride, okay? And then that changes our chemical makeup. It changes our energetic makeup. And all of a sudden, this is what we're feeling in our body. This is what we're radiating in our body. And this is what we're attracting out in the atmosphere. This is what we're attracting out in like the quantum world. And this isn't woo-woo. Like this is actual truth. Okay. So we're way more powerful than we realize. And it's time that we take advantage of that, because our thoughts are informing our feelings, but our feelings are the things that are creating the energy that's pulling back to us what we're thinking about. So play with your imagination, look at your home, get curious about how your home is seeding those thoughts in your mind. And when you catch yourself imagining what you don't want, just stop. Just stop, and then change that to speak directly to what you want, okay? And know that if you have a desire, it is meant for you. Your desires aren't some superfluous thing that makes you greedy or selfish or discontent or whatever. Your desire, like, we don't know where our desire is coming from, okay? So recognize when you have a desire, that's life saying, hey, come over in this direction. We have a cool path for you. Okay, so it's really important to honor what your desires are. And here's the other thing, because a lot of people poo-poo, that's not the right word, but that's what came to mind, this whole concept of following your desire. And what I want to say is that if we follow our desire and if we go after our desire, this is how we evolve. Okay, if you want to, I don't know, go to salsa lessons, like, there's a reason for that, okay? Life didn't just tell you to do that because it's a stupid, selfish idea. It's telling you that because there's more information. And what's going to happen is you're going to go to the salsa lessons. You're going to like either love it or not love it, but you're not going to want to go to salsa lessons anymore because you're already there or because you didn't like it. And then you just opened the doorway to something else. And then you go after that. And then you realize something else and it opens a doorway to something else. But you know what? If we don't follow our desire, the door stays closed the entire time, and we have no idea what would have been on the other side. And I, for one, don't want to be the 85-year-old lady who's going to, I don't be in my bed or whatever, be in the trees and be like, wow, there were a lot of doors I never opened. I want to be that crazy person that's opened all the doors and just wants to keep opening more doors. And so when you think of your desire, think that life is presenting you with a doorway and you have no idea what's behind that doorway. And it's likely going to be beyond anything that you could ever imagine. So never doubt your desire. Trust the timing of your desire. Trust the timing of your life, and make certain that your home is supporting you. Okay? That is it. If you have any questions, I love it when people reach out to me. If you want more of this, this is what all like the Reset program and my certification that's holistic design and integrative coaching, like this is what it's all about, because this is our life. Like we might as well have fun with it. Okay. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. I just jumped on, and to see that people showed up is an honor. So I hope you all have a beautiful week, and thanks for being here. Bye.